Alpit, do you want to check your internet once?
All right. Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So, hello and welcome everybody to the Global Policy, Diplomacy and Sustainability Fellowship's first convocation. It is uh, an extremely proud moment for us to be here where we are, because something that started from a back of the envelope discussion between Ishan and myself, and then with Jonathan, and then with more and more people, has turned into an actual community of people whom we love and people with whom we have grown. Over the fellowship, in the past 3 months, we've had times where we've laughed together. We've had times where we've acquired new knowledge. We've had times where we actually got the opportunity to reach out and know somebody that we wouldn't have otherwise have had the opportunity to understand. So the way that I see the fellowship as the co-director of this initiative is that it is a community that is just starting right now, and it'll be a community that would work towards creating a better world, not only right now, but then for years and years to come. I have no doubt that the power of knowledge, that the power of camaraderie, that the power of having an open mind to reach out and understand somebody who probably does not look like you, or probably does not live in your neighborhood, who probably does not think the way that you do, who probably votes for a different type of a politician than you do. Reaching out to somebody like that and working with them to understand what they are experiencing in their minds, how they experience their life, how they perceive the world. I have no doubt it is one of the most empowering experiences that one can have. We started in a very challenging time when the world was undergoing a pandemic which we haven't seen for centuries. And what makes me proud to no end is that it is during this pandemic that we broke so many barriers of space, of geography, of time, and we were able to connect with each other and become really, really, really good friends. It is it is a feat that cannot be compared to a lot of things that we would do otherwise in our ordinary life. And I am glad to observe that we were one of the few ones who were able to show resilience and create an opportunity and create something positive, even out of something terrible that the world was going through. And for that, I think this was just an idea or a thing whose time had come. I'm extremely proud, and it's the honor of my life to have spent these 3 months with each and every one of you, to have mentors like the ones that we have had in this fellowship, to have fellows who became really good friends of ours, and to have a team that worked day and night across timelines, managing so many people's schedules to make this happen. I consider myself a very fortunate person to have been through this journey with each one of you. So thank you. And without further ado, we are going to take a short recap of our journey by playing a video that captures what we've been through in these 3 months. So I'm going to hand it over to Rishika now to play that video for us.
Rishka, is your sound on?
Sorry for that, guys. Rishika, I think you'll have to share your screen and then enable computer audio. Well, I guess we are still trying to nail the technology here. And that's been a perpetual parlay that we have with the technology. Rishika, I don't think that the sound is still on, but then we can try and give the video a try towards the end again. But without further ado, I would like to then invite one of our closest partners, one of our closest allies, one of our closest friends, Mr. Jonathan Cummings, to address the fellows and then introduce our guest of honor.
Wow, thank you, Arpit. I really do appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. Good morning if you're here in the United States, and good afternoon if you're checking in from Europe. It's a pleasure being here. And for the fellows, I hope you're not worrying too much about your capstones and school applications. I mean, I know those things are a little bit of a pressure, but you'll get through it. But in hindsight, think about it this way: you've made it. You're here. And truthfully, it's been a pleasure working with you all and getting to know all of you. It's been really a pleasure. So now, the way I think about GPODS, in my mind at least, I see it as that Ishan and Arpit are the parents, right? You're the parents, you're there, they're very attentive, they help you all whenever you need help. They're always there, they're always present. And I think of myself as a cool, goofy uncle that comes in every so often on a random occasion that has an interesting story or something like that, or some random thing happens to me and I just tell you all. Or even in my sessions, that's my style, that's my way of communicating. And I'm so happy that I've had the opportunity to play that role for you, to be your goofy uncle. I really appreciate it. And I want each and every one of you to know that I'm proud of you all. Even though I hadn't had the chance to speak to each and every one of you individually, I want you to know that I'm very proud of what you've accomplished, and I'm very proud of what you're going to do in the future. Now, if I'm being honest with myself, I've had this weird concoction of feelings right now. I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm a little anxious and slightly sad. And, I'm excited and happy because, I'm looking at the future of people who are going to be big time international actors, politicians, policy leaders, advocates, business executives, C-level executives, meaning CEO, CFO, and so on, and quite possibly a head of state or two, right? Right? That'd be awesome. So that's why I'm so excited and happy for you all. I'm a little anxious and sad because this journey, our journey, the journey of the first cohort of GPODS has come to an end. And though this is the end of your experiences with GPODS, that doesn't mean goodbye. Now listen to your uncle, your goofy Uncle Johnny, and listen to what he's saying because he knows what he's talking about, right? And I want all of you to know they should keep in touch with each other. We want you to keep in touch with us, obviously. We want you to keep in touch with the new and incoming fellows from GPODS. Every cohort that comes in the future, we want you to keep in touch. And we're going to keep in touch for this one simple reason, and that is because we're a family. And family, no matter how irritated, frustrated, or maybe even hurt by someone in your family, you still care about them because you have their best interests of heart and they have your best interests of heart. So I ask you, and I ask all of us, let's treat each other as a family and do our part to uplift each other. So I know we have a packed agenda ahead, so let me quickly summarize by saying this. In one of our virtual cafes I was on, and I actually grew to love those. And I've actually been on 4 or 5 virtual cafes, even though it hasn't seemed like it. I got on this rant about how empowered you all should feel about being a part of this program. But I don't think most of us realize it, or most of you, I don't believe, realize it. Because if you think about it, we've had the opportunity to speak and learn from a partner from a multi-billion-dollar company, speak with current and former diplomats and international politicians. We've talked with a guy who's developed multiple World Trade Centers. He's here on this call. And heck, we even had the chance to speak with an African queen, right? You've been invited to a NATO conference. You've spoken at a UN Habitat event, and you've just created and spoken at an international virtual online summit. You all really should be feeling good about yourself. It's okay to feel yourself. I mean, brush the dirt off your shoulders. It's fine, right? But you also should know that being humble isn't the same as being aware. And now what I mean by that, don't take that as being arrogant, because the people you step on to get to the top are the same people you'll see when you pass back down when you fall to the bottom. All I'm saying is that you need to realize your power and acknowledge your worth, because you all are so powerful and worthy of anything you put your mind to. So now be confident and march into 2021 with your heads held high. And with that, I'd like to thank you all, and thank you all for being a part of the GPODS family. And I look forward to what 2021 and the future holds for all of you. And so now, let me introduce our guest speaker, Heinrich Sayes. Now, Heinrich is a Norwegian philosopher and a public speaker. He holds a Master's of Arts degree in political theory from Boston College and a PhD in moral philosophy from the University of Oslo. He's a research professor at the Peace Research Institute Oslo and a professor of peace and conflict study at Boyankes University College. And he has furthermore taught at universities and colleges in many countries around the world. He is published widely in the field of ethics, of politics, investments, conflict, and religion. And he's a chief co-editor of the Journal of Military Ethics. From 2017 until this year, Heinrich has served as a vice chair of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, which awards the Nobel Peace Prize. He also loves the Beatles. So if there are any Beatles fans here, you have that in common. And he's a Sunday school teacher. And he is deeply honored to address you all with this commencement address. So thank you so much for being here, Heinrich, and I turn the mic over to you.
Thank you so much for the mic and everything else, Jonathan. Thanks you for those very wise words from the Goofy Uncle. What a pleasure to be with you. Thanks to Arpit and Ishan for their wonderful work. What an honor. This is like handing out the Nobel Peace Prize. Goodness. Listening to you, Jonathan, I keep thinking of one of my favorite sayings from an American politician, Tip O'Neill, who used to say that it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And I think what you just said about humility and dignity in the midst of achieving great things, those things go hand in hand. I'm so proud too, because I've gotten to know Arpit and Nishan over the last year. What a great group of people. And thanks to both of you. Thanks, Arpit, for inviting me this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. And I kept thinking of that old story when you invited me again for this, about Sir Winston Churchill and the famous playwright George Bernard Shaw. And they were known not to be that good friends. So once, for the opening of Shaw's new play, Shaw sent 2 tickets to Winston Churchill. And on the letter it said, "Here's a ticket for you and a friend, if you have one." And the story goes that Winston Churchill returned the tickets with an accompanying letter saying, "I'm sorry, I cannot come on the opening night, but I'll come on the second night, if there is one." So I'm glad there is this one. I'm glad and honored to be talking to you for what you've done through the GPODS program, to you fellows. And what I will try to do during the next 4 hours is, no, I'm just kidding. I like to make the arrangers a little bit nervous. I know I have 30 minutes and I promise to keep within that. I remember my father was a politician And he would say when he was giving talks that I am now going to speak and you are going to listen. I hope you won't finish before me. So I'll try to even that out. I'll share my screen, host disabled participant screen sharing. So if one of you can help me to share my screen, I will show you a few images to underline what I will be trying to say. Let's see, it's still disabled.
Please.
Thank you. While you do that, let me say again how honored I am not just to be in this group, but also to be speaking on the same program as John Dixon, who will be coming later. A great honor. We are in the midst of Christmas celebrations here in Oslo, so I unfortunately probably have to run off. I'll keep my computer on so I can come back and listen whenever I can, but it's kind of chaotic around the house here. There we are. I've been now allowed to share my screen, and we'll put that up for you all right now. There you can see my email address where you may send complaints after the lecture. My friends, you are going through this commencement and this great program for public policy, diplomacy, and sustainability in a very special year. For one thing, it's the year of social distancing. So we cannot actually be together in the way that we want to be together. I have received this year from some friends some great images of what social distancing means. This is one of my favorites taken from the European Christian tradition, but I'm sure many of you will recognize this image wherever you are from. It is, of course, the Last Supper as painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Well, someone pointed out to me that if this had happened this year, the Last Supper would probably have looked like this. And the Lord would have had to start this supper by asking, all right, does everyone have sound? As a Sunday school teacher myself, I don't mean to be irreverent, but of course one keeps thinking how important it is that we can gather for the really important things. And this is of course a tale of something truly important. Jonathan generously mentioned that I'm a Beatles fan, so I have to remind you of this one. It's one of the most famous album covers ever, from the record called Abbey Road, named after the road where the Beatles recorded most of their albums. And here you see them crossing the street. Well, in early April of this year, I received an email from a good friend of mine who said, this is what it would look like now. So John and Ringo and Paul and George have to keep their 2-meter distance. Actually, a few weeks later, I received another one from the same guy who said, this is what it would look like now. These are really, really strange times. And we get used to new things as well, don't we? We do all these Zoom meetings. Well, what you see in the background is actually just the wall of our living room. Sorry, that's all I had. But I saw this one in a meeting where someone actually, during a rather boring meeting on accounts, pretended they were in a fighter jet. Looks better that way. But of course, it's real. We are facing great challenges. And one of the great ones is this one. It's a SARS-CoV-2 virus you are seeing here. It's kind of funny in the midst of all the tragic things, because I sometimes cut images out from Google, like I did here, and paste them into a PowerPoint presentation like this one or a Word document. And in my computer, then you get a suggestion for a caption, a title, man and chair or tree and flower or something like that. When my computer saw this one, it suggested this was cake with red topping. But of course it's not. And it shows us how interconnected our world is. And reminds us also that we are facing quite an uncertain future. That's not new. We've faced that before as well. But it's especially uncertain because our world is so interconnected and so many things are happening at the same time. Environmental crises, political crises, a health crisis. We are better equipped now than we were 100 years ago to meet these things, but at the same time, the opportunities for going wrong, just think about the weapons we have in our world today, are absolutely real. So my friends, that is why GPODS is so important. That is why we need voices and visionaries like you who take what you've learned through this program and in other settings into the world to face this uncertain future. I showed you earlier an album cover For the younger ones among you, you may not quite remember when the long playing record was the big thing, not something that was just online. We bought these in the store, and one of the great things about them was the cover art. And one of my other favorites is a record from 1975 with the pop group Supertramp, and it was all crisis. What crisis? And there you see the danger we can run into, because for some of us, life can seem, after all, relatively comfortable, and we'll get through this, and we have our degree, and we have our jobs, and we can tackle the climate or other changes locally. And then you sit there like this guy, and you ask, crisis? What crisis? But we just have to realize that all around us, there are huge challenges that we have to meet together. And that's where I want to challenge you, because this year that we're living through now with the pandemic is in many ways a before and after. So many of these challenges that I'm talking about, we realize now that we really have to face, and they're coming up close. And Pope Francis said something quite wise some weeks ago when he said, one does not come out of a crisis the same as before. And the pandemic is a crisis. We emerge from a crisis either better or worse than before. It is up to us to choose. Please think about that, because that's why this program is so important. That's why the initiatives that you are part of through this program are so important. That's why you're meeting with these great people for lunch chats and lectures. It's to think through, how can we come through these things and at the other end be better human beings, wiser and better equipped than we were before, because the other might happen. The other might indeed happen, because we've seen that repeatedly in history, how crises have created more crises. How can we emerge from this better? Let me put it in another way for you. We could say that what we are right now, all of us, are authors of a book chapter in the history books. And the chapter has not been finished yet. I mean, when we read history books, we mostly read about things that happened long ago. So we read about 1914 or 1948 or 1945 or 1939 or 1968, right? We read about dramatic years, and we're thinking, what was it like to live then, and how did it end? Well, we are in the midst of that. We are now in a chapter that will be read, let's say 10 or 20 years ago. Our children and children's children will be reading about 2020, 2021, the pandemic. And they will be asking, what did we do? And how did we emerge from that? My friends, the chapter has not been finished yet. And GPODS is part of writing that chapter. I'd like you to think about that, both individually. It's a chapter in your history book. Your life matters. As the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights says, we all have inherent dignity, and each chapter for every single human being is important. And we're writing chapters together, as communities, as cities, as nations, as a globe. We're all writing this. Now, some people say that what we're confronted with a pandemic is actually like a war. Now, this is admittedly no war, and I'd like us to remember that, because the virus is not trying to destroy our rule of law or our nations or bomb buildings. But at the same time, it could be a useful parallel, because these times do have some of the characteristics of war, not least that we're living in times of exceptions and times of urgency. I mentioned Winston Churchill. He created a term during the Second World War that he called supreme emergency. Supreme emergency was what you could normally not do. It would be wrong, but you could do it in a supreme emergency. He used it when German cities were bombed. I'm always uneasy about such terms, because I think supreme emergencies can be used as excuses for other emergencies. The way in which we tackle the pandemic takes a lot of emergency measures, but we must make sure that they don't destroy our basic values. And some of the most basic values are the ones that GPODS are all about: friendship, fellowship, a vision for the future, a wish to work together, even though we come from different nations, worldviews, religions, politics. We can work together, and that must not be destroyed in the pandemic or other emergencies. Quite the opposite. My thesis would be that in order to get through war, we need consciousness about the values we really wish to defend and need to defend. If you look at the history of armed conflict, those nations that somehow emerge healthy are the ones who in some way or another have managed to preserve their values. And it's important because many of those values don't necessarily have to do with the pandemic or the crisis, right? We just talked about friendship or fellowship. Those things are always important, not just now, they're always important, right? I heard a funny story from the United States where a guy was going to a store to buy something, and he was nervous because of this corona and all the restrictions. So he phoned them ahead of time and asked, is it okay that I come now and buy some things at the shop? And they answer, yeah, sure. Come along, you can come now because there aren't many people here, but we do have 2 rules. You have to have gloves on, disposable gloves, and you have to have a face mask. So he goes to the store, comes back afterwards to his wife and says, shocked, they said I only needed gloves and a mask, but all the other ones had clothes on too. Let's not forget the clothes. Let's not forget the ordinary things. And I've come to more and more as I've had the immense honor of working on these sorts of issues, through being on the Nobel Committee, through working internationally on questions of diplomacy and investment and armed conflict. The friendship is one of those crucial values to preserve. Leaders who can speak together, who wish to speak together, diplomats who can speak together and like each other's company. I won't make any big political pronouncements here, but I will say that I think that much of what Donald Trump has represented has been a tragedy. And I'm not talking politics one way or the other. I have views on that too, but I'll leave that aside now. But I'm talking about the way in which you talk to other people. The importance of respect, the wish to do things together. So my hope is, my friends, that maybe, and I'm reminding you of the quote I used from Pope Francis, which I hope can speak to all of you in your different traditions, that maybe this situation can make us better human beings if we learn the right lessons and preserve the right values. I'll say a few more words about values by showing you some pictures. My point is quite simply, as I've already said, that values make a difference. And I'll now show you 2 people who were seemingly, on the face of it, in much of the same situation and had much of the same role. But goodness, how different they are. The first one is unfortunately rather unknown. The second one is quite well known and infamous, many would say. Both of those you see here were what is equal to a colonel's rank during the Second World War for the German armed forces. But goodness, how different they were. The first one is a man called Theodor Stelzer. Theodor Stelzer was a major, later colonel, who came to Norway, my country, during the Second World War for the Wehrmacht, for the German army. And he was a coordinator and chief for transportation services in Norway. But he also came from a background where he had strong values. From the early 1930s, he felt a strong unease about what Hitler and Nazism represented. One could, of course, say, shouldn't he have found something else to do? But, you know, he was an officer. He rose in the ranks. But when he came to Norway, he realized that he had to act on his values. So he helped Norwegian resistance. He probably saved several lives. He undermined the German war effort because he realized it was the right thing to do. He was caught in the end, sent to Germany, given capital punishment, of course, was to be shot, but someone stepped in and put in a good word for him, so it didn't actually happen then, and then peace came. And he actually survived the war to tell his story. The second man is also someone of colonel's rank, what was called an Obersturmbannführer, not in the Wehrmacht, but in the SS. His name was Adolf Eichmann. Adolf Eichmann was, like Stelzer, a very efficient officer, got a lot done. But he had very different values, if he had any values at all. My friends, Adolf Eichmann contributed to 400,000 Jews and several others being transported from Hungary to Auschwitz-Birkenau in the year of 1944. Yes, he did transportation just like Theodor Stelzer, but of human beings, all of whom, so to speak, were killed. And he was proud of how efficient he was. What's the difference between these two? Well, according to Hannah Arendt, a famous German philosopher who studied the case of Adolf Eichmann, he said that the problem with someone like Eichmann was basically that they did not think. What did she mean by that? He thought a lot. He thought about train lines and times and getting things organized. He thought of himself as a great engineer. Now, her point is that he didn't think in terms of moral values. So between the point that we can call the idea of doing something or the order to do it, and on the other hand, the actual execution, there was nothing. That's where you come in, because that's where we need moral judgment. People ask, what am I doing now? What is this doing for other human beings? What does this do to me? According to Hannah Arendt, in the case of Adolf Eichmann, there was nothing. He was thoughtless. And she says many people were evil, people who really wanted to do this. Maybe Adolf Eichmann was too, but the main thing about Eichmann was not evil, but thoughtlessness. I'll show you two more pictures. I mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize, which I've been so honored to help hand out over the last 6 years, over the last 4 years as vice chair of the committee. Here's one who got it before my time. His name was Albert Schweitzer, and they got the Nobel Peace Prize for his humanitarian work. He is someone, if he had been young today, would have been part of GPODS. He was someone you should read about and learn from. He was a theologian. He was also a doctor. And I'll talk about him as a doctor now, because much of what he actually did in his humanitarian peace work was based on his background as a doctor. Well, here's another doctor, another medical doctor called Josef Mengele, known as the death doctor of the Auschwitz camp. Now, it may seem grotesque to put these two people next to each other, but I'd like to do a thought experiment with you. I'd like you now to think that both of these people were, technically speaking, good doctors. Let's say they went to an anatomy exam, and Mengele did slightly better. He really knew anatomy. I'm just saying this for the purpose of the thought experiment, but I'd like to ask you, who was the better doctor? And I think we all know that you cannot define a doctor only by pointing to their technical prowess and knowledge. There is much more. That's what GPODS is about, isn't it? It's not just about learning about the world. You can learn a lot through reading books. That's a great thing. But it's what you think about the world. What sort of world you want to see. Albert Schweitzer got the Nobel Peace Prize because he believed in a better world. He contributed to that. Many people do. There are so many things we can do. Josef Mengele may have been a good doctor. I don't know exactly how good he was, but let's say that he was. But he used it for death and destruction. My friends, that's the difference. What are values? Well, values are that which we navigate by. The things that are so important to us that we use them as a sort of vision for where we want to go and what we want to be. Normally, we define values as something that's relatively stable. They last over time, even if they might at times be adjusted and corrected. Many of you may this semester have been challenged, and you have maybe thought, hey, maybe I have to do something about that value. The big question, though, is whether there is a difference between what we say are our values and that which we actually live by. And that's one of the great challenges, because there are many institutions and people around the world who talk about values, but they don't really mean anything. I mean, if we are to be honest with ourselves, or let me correct, at least if I have to be honest with myself, I have to admit that there are times in my life where I've done things that I deeply regret. And I've tried to correct it. I've tried to ask for forgiveness and move on and learn. But of course, what I really dislike about myself in those situations are the double standards, because I've spoken about ethics and I try to live up to it. And I hope increasingly I manage to, but sometimes I don't. And I realize that I'm living by double standards. Now, there are those who say that double standards are better than no standards at all. And there is something to that expression. But having said that, that's a real challenge, because there is a lot of talk about values in our time. But do we really live up to them? I'm hoping that a time of crisis such as we are through now, and you have done this GPODS program in a very special year. It can also be a time for taking stock of our values and taking them seriously. One of the most important ones for you in your program, coming out of the great EnviPol program that Arpit and Ishan have worked on, is sustainability. What does it mean? Do we take it seriously? Or is it something we just say? And I'll end this line of thought by just challenging you to think about the relationship between the term values, which I've learned or used so far, and the term virtues. Because I think values without any virtues are not worth much. What's a virtue? Well, a virtue is the same as a character trait. It means something that you are, not just something you do or something you believe in, but something that informs who you are and tells you something about who you are. We often talk in psychology about internalizing values, and internalized value becomes a virtue. The things that we talked about earlier today, friendship and fellowship, earlier today, I mean just 40 minutes ago when Arpit and Jonathan spoke, such things as friendship and fellowship, they're virtues. Moderation, a much needed virtue in our time of environmental destruction. Courage, prudence, justice, faith, hope, and charity. They are all virtues. You can call them values too, but they say something about who you are. And what I'm hoping, as I've already said, that this crisis can be a way of making us realize anew how much they mean. That the GPODS program, through all that you've learned, all the things you talked about, all your disagreements as well, they are important. We don't have to agree about everything, but that they make it clear for us what we have to do. I sometimes illustrate that, being a philosopher, by something called the parable of the cave, from a Greek philosopher called Plato, who said that sometimes we human beings are like people in the left of this picture, locked up into a cave, and they can't move anywhere, and they've been there since childhood, so they in the end believe that this is all there is. They're seeing shadows on the wall, they're hearing some voices, and they think this is the truth. This is reality, until one of them is let loose and starts moving out of the cave and sees that this is not reality. These are just shadows. They're shadows of dolls or figures that are moved in front of a fire. The man is pushed out and in the end ends up outside the cave and sees full reality. Sees the sun. Sees the earth around him. And all that follows from that. He realizes that there is more to life than what is in the cave. My friends, the tragic thing about this story is that this man goes back into the cave because he wants to tell the others. He's so enthusiastic, right? You've been through the GPODS program. You're really enthusiastic. But of course, the others don't like what they're hearing. They think he looks weird. He looks all blind. You know, he can't adjust his eyes. What's he saying? And they attack him. Famously, this is an image that Plato uses because that's what happened to his teacher, Socrates. Socrates ran what we can call the GPODS program of Athens 400 BC. But he ended up being punished to death by his city. My friends, that should not happen today, because we need the words of those who have dared to walk out of the cave and see that larger reality which is out there. Well, here in Europe, but I know many places that you are as well, whether in the minority or majority, many are celebrating Christmas. And Christmas is one of those things that have become almost universal. So almost everyone says Merry Christmas. If we go back to the deepest meaning of what Christmas is, it is the meeting between what is huge, a great vision, a reality larger than what we can understand, that which is called God or the divine, and everyday reality, because this huge thing comes to life through a child. So the greatest and the smallest meet, and that's what I want you to strive for, to change the world for the better. Learn more about it through this crisis, but do so in a way that actually makes a difference to everyday people, not just something that remains out there as some sort of shadowy thing. I'll end there by saying that it's a great honor to be together with you today. Thank you so much for inviting me. Tell others about the program you've been through. Use the GPODS fellowship as a badge of honor. I heard a funny story, and I'll stop with that one, which is about a man here in Norway who has received something called the King's Honorary Medal. It's a little bit, we don't have, knights and sirs and ladies in Norway, so we don't have that sort of hereditary honor system. But you can get, the highest medal, gold, from the king for special things. So this man is awarded the Honorary Medal of the King. And it's given at a ceremony by the county governor. But a few weeks later, he's actually invited to the palace to meet the king and queen. So he comes there for this reception for all this year's recipients. And the king notices that he's not wearing his medal. So he asks him, "Why are you not wearing your medal?" And the man answers, "Well, I thought I'd save it for special occasions." Well, my friends, it's a special occasion for you today. Wear your medal, whether literally or figuratively, with great pride. I thank you once again for letting me address this great crowd. I'll leave my computer on, so I'll go back and forth a bit and try to hear a bit of what's happening. But either way, I wish you all the best for the holidays, for the new year. Stay well and safe. Take good care of each other, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Henrik. It's an unenvious job that I have to. This is the second time I'm following you in a discussion, and it's almost impossible to do justice to anything that follows. Thank you so much for taking out the time. I know that it's the holiday season, it's a busy schedule, but I'm also aware that you have been extremely supportive about GPODS, about any of the ideas that Arpit and I have conjured over the past 1 year, and it's your kindness and support that has kind of willed us on to achieve greater things in life. And so thank you so much, Henrik. And we will obviously keep pestering you with every update that happens at our end, and I'd invite all the fellows to do the same, and you'd be surprised how supportive Henrik is in all of our endeavors, as he will be in yours. So thank you so much, Henrik.
Thank you so much, Henrik.
So guys, this is absolutely about you today, as you know, and about the time that we've spent together. We will quickly do the official roll call, which is where we give all of you the well-earned certificates, and shall not mention the capstone at all here. And we'll just go ahead with the certificate. So Rishka, if you're ready. Can we have, and I'm going alphabetically, can we have Aman's certificate first? So I'm just going to go through all. Aman, congratulations on being a part of the fellowship. You've obviously added a lot to the fellowship through your stories, a lot of the stories that will be mentioned on another virtual cafe that is held on another time. We have Anjali next. Thank you, Anjali, for being part of the fellowship. Arif, we have Arif who's next. Thank you, Arif. Arundhati. Thank you, Arundhati, for also establishing a WhatsApp group for the cohort, which has taken over the Slack group. We are envious again. Ashutosh. Thank you, Ashutosh. We've had quite a few conversations over the past week, and I hope that the conversations continue. Asma. Thank you, Asma. You've added to the conversations that have happened in my classes and otherwise. So thank you. I would also refrain from mentioning how useful your nephew is when it comes to being eventful in life. Caroline. Thank you so much, Caroline. You have been one of the most active fellows that we've had, and we could not be more grateful. I'm sure the conversations, as I said, will carry on. Charmi. Thank you, Charmi. We wish you all the best with all of your applications. I still kind of hold it against you that you did not apply to Stanford and only Cornell, but that's a personal matter that we can take up another time. Himaki, thank you for being a part of the cohort, Himaki. We were sad when we got to know that you would not be coming for our event during the day, and we sorely missed you. Hope you're feeling better. Malika, thank you for being a part of the cohort, Malika. Again, pleasure knowing you and getting to know you. And I'm sure we'll be adding a lot of layers to the friendship that we're developing over time. Marie, thank you for being a part of the cohort, Marie. Thank you for voicing all of the opinions that you had in classes, in our discussions, and the wonderful thoughts that you had during the International Ideation Summit that we conducted on the last weekend. Mohit, apart from the way you conduct games, I have absolutely no issues with you. I hope the conversations continue. I hope you become a little unbiased when it comes to conducting games, but otherwise you've added a lot of dimensions to this fellowship and to all the conversations that we've had. Thank you so much, Mohit. Moritz, pleasure having you, Moritz. When I spoke to you at the beginning, I was sure that we're adding someone to the fellowship who's going to bring in a very intelligent point of view to all of the discussions, and you have absolutely not disappointed. We're very, very proud to have you as a fellow. Moshmi, thank you so much, Moshmi, for being a part of the fellowship. Again, all of us feel very personally connected with each of you, and thank you for bringing in so much of that energy to this fellowship that you did. I hope that some of your apprehensions about introducing yourself have withered away over the past 3 months. I know that Nikunj, who's next, has not been able to join us, but I'm sure he'll see this recording, and he's been an asset to the fellowship. He's always been very forthcoming with his ideas, and very proud of having Nikunj as a part of the fellowship. Nivedita, again, Nivedita, extremely grateful for you to have joined the fellowship. I am expecting a lot out of you in the coming years, in the coming decades. I hope you keep on doing what you're doing and keep on being concerned about things that a lot of us brush aside. And I am as grateful as I'm hopeful. So thank you for being a part of this fellowship. Nupur, what I just said about Moshmi, about introductions, I hope you've gotten over that fear. I think we've put you through enough introductions that you've finally got yourself acclimatized to how introductions work. A pleasure having you. You've added so much to this fellowship, as all of you have, that I could not be more grateful. Palash. Hi, Palash. Pleasure having you to as a part of the cohort. Again, extremely forthcoming, innovative. Glad for you that you scored a job during the fellowship as well. You've been very judicious with your thoughts within the classes and otherwise, and such an inspiration when it comes to putting our heads together and coming up with something new. So thank you so much, Palash. Ria, extremely grateful to have you as a fellow to the GPODS fellowship. We had such a good discussion during the Ideation Summit, and I hope that you agree with me when I say that this is the start of a beautiful friendship, which will carry on beyond our Convocation day. Samira, congratulations, and thank you for being a part of the fellowship. I know we have a call scheduled, and I keep on giving office hours even beyond the Convocation. But if the fellows are as interesting and as forthcoming as you are, it's always a pleasure. Shashank, how could I forget Shashank? Shashank, you've been a pillar of strength for us. You have been one of the most enigmatic fellows that we've had. very, very forthcoming again, and you've added so many good points to each of the discussions. You've challenged us in our classes, you've challenged us in our ideologies, political thought, and with more of you around, I'm sure future of the polities that you'll be dealing with would be very bright. So thank you, Shashank.
Thank you.
Shivangi. Thank you, Shivangi, fellow environmental lawyer. Again, it goes without saying, we'll be keeping in touch beyond this. And it was a pleasure to listen to your views. It was also a pleasure to see how your thoughts have evolved during the fellowship. I know that we covered some areas in which you're already an expert in my lectures, but the way you dealt with them, the light in which you saw them, your feedback about the lectures has been very, very welcome. And thank you for being a part of this fellowship, and congratulations again. Sneha, one of the TFI people who have joined us, and we are so grateful to have you. Congratulations on being part of the fellowship, and let's hope the conversation continues. Srija, we just met you about 2 hours back, and it was a pleasure seeing you in person as well. Such an achiever, and then to come to the fellowship, and again adding a dimension to the conversations we've had, the way you have gone about talking about the fellowship, even today when we put you on the spot, has been overwhelming. And again, many congratulations. I hope you're done with your commute and you're someplace stationed and safe. Again, congratulations and thank you, Shrija. So Lekha, our in-house international law expert, thank you for all of your wonderful ideas, wonderful contributions. Again, always challenging us in our thoughts, always helping us. And we could not be more grateful to have you as a fellow, and congratulations for being a part of this fellowship. Tejas, my fellow Symbian, wonderful to have you. I know we started this conversation 4 or 5 months back about the GPODS fellowship, and you'd inquired about it. I hope you've had the kind of journey that I have been able to have through this fellowship, and congratulations again on being officially graduating from the fellowship. Ujjwal, wonderful to have you as a fellow again. You brought a lot of diversity with the background that you have to the fellowship, and I hope we keep in touch and we continue the conversation. Thank you for being a part of the fellowship. Saheed, so much that I wanted to say about you, but we're restricted by time. Again, absolute pleasure having you, your thoughts, your contributions, your ideas, your forthcoming nature, your friendly nature, your intra-cohort and inter-mentor exchange has been something that we cherish, that we've learned from going forward. And I hope that we're able to do justice with all of your suggestions. And thank you for being part of the fellowship, and many congrats. So that being said, guys, we're done with the roll call of certificates. Many congratulations. GPODS is what it is only and only because of all of you. And GPODS will continue to strive to be what it was during this cohort, because your standards and the standards that you've set have been very high. I am personally very proud of you, but I have a separate vote of thanks that I have to give a little later. So I'll save all of that for then. For now, we'll just go ahead with the video, if that's ready, Aditi. With the sound this time.
Yeah.
Because after all, I don't think any of you are involved in this for purely academic because you need a job. I wouldn't be here today if that was the case. You're all striving for something bigger.
So how do we make policy?
Policy or some key elements of a good migration policy, what should be?
How to save the planet.
What are the theories and concepts related to innovation?
Strategic communications and creating effective messages and public campaigns.
So policy is not only a question of making specific environmental legislations, but also in other fields of policy.
What is the scope of environment, how we should not limit it to our understanding of environment, because environment is inclusive of human beings and not the other way around.
That's taken more to a national and international level, because you are then negotiating these exchanges between nations and between higher level of state governments in order to achieve the best long-term solution. And long-term, of course, is a broad term, because every country has its own system and has their own system of government, and whether or not it's a 4-year elected president or a lifetime king or queen, is up to the country. But ultimately, year by year, the United Nations and just governments in general that interact want to reassess where they stand. And all of this can be seen through the lens of sustainability, because if you aren't considering sustainability as you form your arguments, then what are you really going towards?
Just because we don't have a lot of opportunities just because of the fact of our gender. And this is something that people don't really talk about. So normally when I talk to my friends, we don't talk about how unfair it is that we aren't getting certain opportunities because of gender. And so we don't really realize how widespread it is.
Corporates, their battleground is highly capitalist. So as far as with corporates is concerned, I think governments, agencies will have to intervene to keep them in check when it comes to charging for the resources from the earth. Paying for the resources of the earth, because I think it has gone non-built since a long time now, and
the kind of flexibility that we are looking at into providing youth with the opportunity to do what they really want to do in terms of sports, in terms of theater, literature, arts, etc. I think all of those pieces could really be solidified, and that angle will be a life-changing, not life-changing, sorry, would be a big change in the Indian policy sphere as well. And because the stats are also in favor of the youth, the country has a lot of youth. I think it would be appreciated, and it could be a stepping stone for a lot of youths to come into the policy sector and see how policy defines your life and day-to-day living very differently, right? Because in India, the culture is that we don't really understand how policy and life is interlinked, right? But in the US, or in some of the foreign countries, the youth is aware of how policy influences them.
Woohoo! Congratulations, everyone. And with this, now we officially declare you as graduates of the Global Policy, Diplomacy, and Sustainability Fellowship. Woohoo! And with this, I'd like to invite Mr. John Dixon to share some words with us. This ceremony would not be complete without hearing from John, because as I've mentioned over and over again, for Jonathan, myself, and now for Ishan, John has been the kind of inspiration who has brought people together from all across the world. So we are just taking a leaf from John's book, whatever is happening over here. So John, over to you.
Thank you, Arpit. Congratulations, everyone. It's really, you've that's been quite an accomplishment over the last few months in a very, very challenging time. And I actually tugged on Arpit's jacket to let me see you again at the end. I forced myself in here because you guys really are awesome. And I have the same experience that we had so much trouble with. I think I explained before when we did the International Young Leaders Assemblies and at the UN and the World Bank and Congress and State Department, we were kind of using the platform of these venues, which isn't possible right now. But our problem was when we would invite people to speak, we would give them only a, we have a set schedule like you have today. So, and I remember the very first time, I'm not sure what it was a long time ago when we met. I don't even remember what I talked about, but I remember the very first program we did, we stopped also in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center, invited the first Black mayor of Philadelphia, which was a friend of mine who I'd met in the ancient time, 1985, during his first term. And he, of course, didn't remember me. I don't know how he couldn't remember, but he didn't. But I came very early, like half an hour early to the venue, and he was already there, standing there dressed to the T, as he always does. And he said to me, John Dixon, this, I had no idea about this program. My secretary had confirmed, so I'm committed. I have to honor that commitment. So I'm here, but I've already had 2 meetings this morning, and I have 1 more. So what do you need from me? Well, Mr. Mayor, I said, this is your city. Can you give a welcome? He said, yeah, sure, I can give a welcome. How much time do you need? I said, well, how about 5 minutes? I don't need 5 minutes to give a welcome. I said, that's fine. But whatever you want to do is fine, but we're happy to have you here. So he got up in the podium. This is the same podium Barack Obama spoke at, many justices of the Supreme Court. It's a fantastic venue. And then he started speaking. We had a panel to go after him, and 30 minutes later, I was in the back of the room going like this, pointing to my watch, going like this, and he ignored me. 30 minutes later, and though I had to go up on the stage and pull on his jacket, so Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, we have a program. So I had to pull him off, and that was our problem everywhere we went. Is that we couldn't get people to stop talking. They think young people, young leaders, that by obligation I'll show up, but they when they see you, and it's not quite the same here, but I could still see most of you on one screen, and your agenda, your purpose, your vision, your being here, and really striving to make the world better, make a difference in the world. That people don't think about when they hear young leaders. They think, they mostly with young people make headlines in the news by the problems, the riots and troublemakers. Now, I hope you're all troublemakers, but that's to make a change, to change things, you have to make trouble. But we want to be, and I'm sure you are good troublemakers. Anyhow, I'm going to try not to be make trouble with your agenda here and schedule, but I am really happy to hear. I've heard through the program about it. I did get to see Jonathan a few times, and Saeed, we got together a couple of times here in Pennsylvania, so representing everybody. And so anyhow, it's you've done a fantastic job here, and at a very important one. I was Arpit in his opening mentioned about a community. You've become a community, and Jonathan ramped that up to family, and I think that's a really important. That term is really critical, because community you can leave or drop out of, but family you don't have a choice about. So you've been together, and now you're going to be together, and you are connected, and that's the most precious thing ever, that connection. And so family, also during the time of this GPODS first session, there's been some major, huge developments on the family scene. One is Arpit became a husband during this time. And I became a grandfather. That's even more awesome and remarkable. So anyhow,
congratulations.
Yeah, sure. Even on the personal level, huge things happen on this family stage, but family is really who we are. We're all connected in that way. And the connection is the most precious and important thing. Solutions have to come from your connection with people. And the further we get away from a problem, the less effective, the less efficient the solution is going to be. So you have to really, I think we talked about that the last time, but really stay connected. I didn't know Heinrich, but that was quite a wonderful presentation, and made me think about many things. I've been to Norway a few times, and I used to chair the Committee on Peace Through Trade for the World Trade Centers Association, and one of our committee members was the World Trade Center Oslo. And we made this little award one time. I thought we have to really recognize business people for their contribution to peace building, and which is kind of was unheard of really at that time. Anyhow, this Per Saxegard from Oslo, he took that idea and built the Business for Peace Foundation, and gives a very prestigious award to business leaders who for their contribution for peace in the Oslo City Hall, which is a venue only allowed for the Nobel Peace Prize, and this meeting. So, and I went the first year that he did this. I was invited the first couple of years, but we had dinner with the King and Queen of Norway in this ancient castle. It's just really fantastic. But that's just through connection and the family we made in our little Committee on Peace Through Trade. And then thinking about the Nobel Peace Prize, this year's Nobel Prize winner, Peace Prize, do you know, do you remember, anybody take note of who got the Nobel Peace Prize this year? It was the World Food Program. Yeah. Okay, so just a little story. We did this, we did this International Young Leaders Assembly in the UN, and that's where I got to meet Arpit and Jonathan. And we arrange for speakers. We have speakers in these venues, but we make sure people know that the program is the delegates are the program, not the speakers. So you really are you are the whole program here with GPODS. It's not the other things. You are GPODS. So. And this really wonderful young lady was recommended to me to be a speaker. And there's, everybody wants to speak on that podium in the General Assembly Hall. So it's not easy, but anyway, we allowed this one young lady to speak. And she's really, really fantastic, wonderful person. And it turns out her father was the former governor of South Carolina. So then anyhow, I was at a big convening in Washington, D.C. It's actually every year there's an annual prayer breakfast that the president speaks at. And every president since Eisenhower who started this has spoken there every year annually. So I went to that, and then I saw her, Sarah Catherine, in the lobby, and I asked her if her dad was around, the former governor. So she said, yeah, he's up in his room. I said, well, I'd like to talk to him, but you know what his schedule is? I'll just go up and see him, she said. So, I went up to his room in the hotel. This is a meeting in this big Hilton hotel. And I knocked, he let me in, and we just chatted for like half an hour, and about all kinds of things. But we did talk about, he was being recommended for this World Food Program directorate, and I had known a former World Food Program director. Anyhow, I said, Mr. Governor, I'd really love to keep this conversation going. I know you're really busy, but how can we make sure this happens? He said, well, you have the best access already. Why do you need to ask that? I said, what do you mean I have access? He said, well, you know my daughter. He said, you can't get, there's no better, access, no better way in than that. So the point is relationships are the most important thing. And those, and I was just really, it's pretty cool to be able to complete that circle with the Nobel Peace Prize. And then your speaker, Heinrich, was, and his content was just fantastic. So you never know who you meet and when you meet them and what their connections and where that leads to. And, there's only, the old days they used to say 6 degrees of separation between you and anybody on the planet. I think with this kind of technology now, there's maybe 2 degrees. I think that everybody, it's remarkable, the connection. So that's very, very important. The other, I just wanted to mention collaboration. You are also coming from the purpose is fairly broad, but your backgrounds are really broad, and that's really important. I think with this IYLA, we always promoted what we called radical collaboration. I know one year we had a speaker was an ambassador from, I'm sorry if I'm talking too fast, but I'm real excited just to be with you. We had the ambassador from Argentina spoke at the World Bank one year, and it was kind of odd. It's the ambassador from Argentina, and he was speaking at the World Bank, and he's a medical doctor, and he got his then a PhD in something in finance or something like that, and he was talking about the magic between discipline, when interdisciplinary work is really the most important, and he said that there's magic between these different disciplines. That's what, and so he experienced that in his personal life, being a doctor and working on global policy. But we can also do that with friends, making sure the people working on the problems that you're tackling have very different perspectives. That's a very good thing. There's a tendency in the policy development world to hang with people that are kind of like you, even from the same universities. And I don't have a problem with Cornell, but you got too many. I have a daughter that went there, but anyhow, you want to work also with people from Penn State and the junior college down the street too. Get them in the high school, get everybody's input and work with that radical collaboration, and then you'll understand problems from many different perspectives, and your solutions will be better, I think. I want to put in a pitch finally for. I'm also on the board of this U.S.-India SME Council. And there's governments and your big multinational corporations are all involved at the UN and World Bank and these various places. But most jobs and most of the economy around the world depends on the SMEs, small, medium enterprises, even SMMEs, small, medium, micro enterprises. So, and you often won't come across them in policy venues and places deciding policy because they're busy running their businesses. They're the people who got hurt the most in this COVID challenge. And just don't ignore them and seek them out. They work on the local level with problems and they solve problems, and they can be not just donors to what you're doing, but advisors. So I just want to put a pitch in for them because often they don't show up in these spaces, and please seek them out. I'm an SME, and I think Ishan and Arpit and Jonathan created an SME here. So that's and on that point, sustainability, when I go to the UN, my main platform, I always talk about sustainability. The only thing that's sustainable is what generates revenue, because if something depends on a grant from the government or an agency, when that grant runs out, the program stops. But if it's generating revenue, it has sustainability. That's one, of course, aspect. I'm talking about the environmental impacts, but that's a kind of a radical idea. But that's business is what generates revenue, and that's the only thing that does. So you please do keep them, love them, and embrace business people, especially SMEs, in your work moving forward. And then finally, I am going to try to not overstay my welcome here, but and by the way, Jonathan said he's a goofy uncle, but that was always my main my pride point, but I'm going to have to move up to goofy grandfather now since Jonathan's uncle here. But I appreciate your patience with me. I had a profound COVID. You know, everybody's now, all these seminars are post-COVID world, the new normal and all that. But during the COVID time, I moved to a kind of a small town. I was living in DC and working in Washington and New York City at the UN. So I wanted to get out of Washington, and but didn't want to go into New York. I moved to a small town in Pennsylvania called Bethlehem. It used to be a steel town. It was totally had to reinvent itself. It's a small little community, and so every day I was here. I hardly know anybody because I was all that spending all my time in Washington, New York. So when COVID hit, I didn't know anyone, and nobody you could meet. You couldn't meet anybody anyway. Across the street from my house is Lehigh University, and there's no one in the university. So I would go walking and get up very early, and I would go walking through town and along the river. There's a river runs right through town, and I watched every flower come out as it started in March, and the first flower on this tree and then on that one, and then I watched every blossom, and then the leaves came out. I watched the geese that would fly in on their way back north. They made a nest, and then they had these little goslings, and I watched them grow up and become full-grown geese, and they all flew off in this fantastic V formation. I experienced nature every day. I watched the sunrise. It started like way over in the northeast, and because of the latitude I'm at, it moves quite a distance by the time it got to the fall. And I had never had a chance to notice those things, actually. I watched everything, and there was no people and no cars on the street in the beginning, the first month or so. So that was I thought, a very important lesson for me, is to stay connected to nature. Many of you living in big cities, not so easy, but be informed by nature, and then include farmers in your process also, because they are farmers and fishermen are dealing with nature every day, and that be informed by that, because that's a very important reality. There's no theory there. That's the weather and things that you have to, you can't, doesn't matter your theory. When it rains, you're going to get wet, and these people are dealing with those issues. So during this time, my barber wasn't open either, and so I started to look like a real wild man. I didn't trim my beard either because of my hair, and when my hair gets long, it gets kind of curly, and I really started looking like the Unabomber here in I don't know if there was a crazy guy that lived off the grid that started blowing people up in America, blowing up the institutions. There's nothing I could do. Couldn't cut my own hair. I never was able to do that. So anyhow, it got kind of long, but I would be on these Zoom calls, so I'd have to kind of careful, try to get my hair to be not manageable, look so somewhat civilized and decent. I didn't put on a tie today. I haven't had it on a tie since February. I want to say that's pretty remarkable for me. But anyhow, my hair got really, really kind of crazy and big, and kind of like the old days when I was your age. But my barbershop opened finally, and I went back to, that's in Washington, D.C. So I finally went down there, and here's all this hair that I was like, kind of have always, being aware of during these Zoom calls. And then after the barber finished, there was my hair on the floor, a big pile of this, black hair on the floor, mostly black anyhow, on the floor of the barbershop. And then he walks by and sweeps it up and throws it into the trash can. And that didn't even bother me. But half an hour before that, I'm like really concerned about this hair. It's a part of me. And when it was no longer connected, then I didn't care. And then it didn't matter to me what happened. It was kind of like surprised me, my feeling about this hair on the floor. And so this connection, the point here, the conclusion finally, is that the connection is the most important thing. That's how we find value in others. We have to stay connected. And I'm grateful for the Zoom, but then it's been really rough. And in your work, stay connected to each other. I mean, your cohort group here is very, very valuable. The mentors that you've made, extremely valuable. The people working in the field are much better than the people writing the books about the field. I mean, the people writing the books are good, but the ones doing the work are the ones you want to know. But the connection is the most important thing. And then realizing that we're all connected. This whole world is really one family. Then we have the right attitude in development and sustainability moving forward. So please keep those. Oh, hi, Henrik. Thank you for your presentation, Henrik. It's really great to meet you. And all of you. And Saeed, great to see you again. And let's stay in touch. And if you're anybody around the area, stop by Bethlehem. It's nicknamed Christmas City. And you're all welcome come by. So anyhow, congratulations. You've done a fantastic job, Jonathan, Ishan, Arpit. Arpit, congratulations. You're wonderful. It's like watching a Bollywood movie, watching Arpit's wedding. It was so great. That tradition, the family tradition is so strong in India. And that's precious, and never lose that.
Thank you, John. And we are going to come up to Bethlehem and see you in August.
Yeah, you're all good. Okay, great. Yeah, everybody's welcome. Let's all have a reunion here. Thank you again, and congratulations, everyone. Great job.
Taking out the time, John. Again, always extremely insightful to hear you. I think it's also you being here on the Convocation Day is also emblematic of how the whole GPODS fellowship has come a whole circle. You were there in the inaugural lecture series and now on the Convocation. So thank you so much for always being there for us. And I'm sure the support would continue. So thank you so much. Now, as I was saying earlier in my little address, that this day is about all of you. And I would absolutely not let all of you go before I hear a little from each of you. And I know that a lot of you would hate me for doing this, but I am going to put you on the spot. You have about 1.5 minutes to say what you wish. This is being recorded for the sake of posterity. Please do not abuse or use cuss words, but otherwise everything's welcome. Your views on GPODS, if you want to bitch about Arpit and me, please feel free. And yeah, so am I audible? All right, okay, great. So as I said, we were going alphabetically the last time, so we'll go in the reverse order this time. We'll start with Saeed. Saeed, I know that Aman's very happy about this. Saeed, do you want to go first? You have about a minute and a half tops.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ishan, and thank you very much, Arpit, for organizing GPOD. I think for me, it's one of the great platforms I've actually explored, and I'm very grateful I did. Right from this time, I considered putting in for the application. So this very, very moment, because I've been able to meet great people, shared time with John Dixon, the great John Dixon, and of course, able to explore new places and the lectures, the programs, the people that I've actually spoken with. I think they are very awesome, and I think this is a very great program. And of course, I've also spoken with some couple of friends, and some people have actually contacted me to join the program. In fact, I've had up to 5 people on my LinkedIn bugging me. Oh, how is this program? How is it going? And I'm like, say a lot of things like, this is a bomber. I need to apply. I just need to apply. I can afford. And yeah, I think it's a very, very good group, and the dynamics is actually very awesome. You see from the law aspects, from technology aspects, and I've been able to learn a lot. And the dynamics of Chiro too, they are very much of an expert, and I think perspective will judge me if I don't actually put in more in the future to talk about policies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saeed. I'm just going to quickly go through these without, and I'll probably save my comments for later. I have a lot of them. Hopefully, individually, I could communicate them to you. Sulekha, if we can hear from you very quickly, and I hope the net's working fine today.
Hello.
Hi, Sulekha. We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Surprise.
I'm surprised as well. I think everything that I wanted to say about my experience with the fellowship has so nicely been expressed by everyone. I can just say that I am extremely grateful to be a part of this cohort and the fellowship. And I learned a lot from all of you and all the amazing mentors. So I have just one overwhelming feeling that I want to express is an immense sense of gratitude. Just thank you to the GPODS whole team, the fellows, and all the mentors.
Thank you so much, Sulekha. I know that Sneha is on a work call. Shivangi, you're up next.
Like Sulekha said, gratitude for this. It's been a wonderful 3 months, knowing some people. And for me, honestly, this doesn't feel like the end. I didn't realize that this is getting over because I feel like, I'm just starting to get to know people and I just talk. So it's been great to learn from everybody, like different backgrounds and their thoughts. And obviously, thanks to you, Ishan, Arpit, the entire team, and all the amazing mentors and, everything that you all taught us. Just thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shivangi. It could also be a case of people not turning in their capstone, that people don't think that it's getting over today. Anyway, my slight jab. Shashank, would you want to go ahead, please?
Yes. By the way, we all love your cryptic sense of humor, Ishan. Right? So, meaning strange mix of feelings. I just like what Shivangi said, it doesn't feel like it's ending, but I guess that we are at the end of the road formally, right? Although informally, I would love to say that we made great friends, right? And including Arpit, Ishan, I personally have learned, right? And there is a set of people that I intend to stay in touch with. And that's the central message that I actually want to give out, that all of us should try our best to be in touch. And many, many thanks. I learned a lot. And I'm still trying to catch up on a few lectures that I missed. I was bugging Ishan the other day that some of his lectures in December are not there on the classroom, right? So yes, I hope that we'll have access and to each other and stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shashank. Again, as I said earlier, I've also mentioned this in one of the virtual cafes. I think our future looks bright if we have people like you at the helm. So thank you so much. Also, I just want to quickly reiterate what Arpit has just said. It is officially the end of the road of the official GPODS cohort fellowship. But the conversations will keep on happening, meetups will keep on happening, gatherings will keep on happening. We'll also try and arrange something like a virtual cafe every now and then, even if it's not a virtual cafe, a Zoom link should do, and the conversations would continue. Samira, if you could go next.
Also, sorry to interrupt over there before Samira goes. If you guys are thinking, why am I writing things on the chat, or if I'm being a little reticent today, that's because I've moved back into my Delhi home. So kind of trying to come out of the quarantine, and the internet over here is not working so well. So just so that not to disturb the order of the events, I'm keeping it a little low and not.
All right. Yeah. It's been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for organizing this, Ishan and Arpit. I think having access to such great mentors was amazing. And more than the content knowledge, I think the connections, the conversations I've had on WhatsApp and with people informally, so to say, has been great. And I just realized people are really helpful, like you just need to seek out and you just need to reach out and people are there to help you and guide you. I think that's something that I took back from this experience. And definitely 3 months is, I think, a really short span for the fellowship. Maybe we could take that as a feedback and extend the tenure of the fellowship.
Anyway, thank you so much, Samira. I'm just kidding. We'll obviously keep in touch. And Arpit has forbidden me from quoting songs. Otherwise, I had a song that I could have quoted here. We'll move on to Ria. Ria, if you could go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have my video on. I just injured my leg. I'm lying down. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. I think that I feel like I've missed out a lot on a lot of things, seeing all of the virtual cafes and everything. But it's great to see that, we've managed to foster this feeling of family in this short time. And I think, as Samira was saying, the feeling of, that people will help you if you ask. I think that's also something that I felt very much from this group of people. I think I'm just going to catch up on all of the lectures and build more relationships as we go ahead. Thanks all.
Thank you so much, Ria. Palash, you're up next. Even though you've already had your moment in the sun in the video, but you could still go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible? Okay.
Palash, you're somehow logged in through two devices. I think that's why this is happening.
Palash, instead of going on mute, just disconnect yourself from one of your devices and you'll be fine.
Let us come back to Palash in the meanwhile.
So, hi everyone.
Okay.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So it has been a great journey, and I think I have a feeling tonight that GPODS is going to be a kind of community wherein every one of us is a change maker, and I think the journey has just begun. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Palash. Thank you, Caroline, for blaming me for his audio issues. Nupur, you're up next.
I had a lot of points. Now I've forgotten. You should definitely give me a cue before starting. So yeah, I mean, my journey was like wonderful. I made quite a lot of friends that I thought something that cannot happen in a virtual setting. And I would be really happy that if someday I bump into some or the other GPODS fellow or somebody from the GPODS team, and yes, it's been an enhancing, I've got everything like live lessons, tips and tricks to, how to work on a virtual platform. And it's been a learning journey. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Nupur. You've all given a lot more than you've taken from GPOD. So thank you so much, each of you. Nivedita, if you could go ahead, please.
Thank you, Ishan. I think after this, I've taken up another course to keep myself busy now. So I will just speak about 3 months back when I was initially apprehensive to join this fellowship because none of the subjects were of my background. And I remember speaking with Shashank and then Arpit, and then I decided to jump in because my applications were coming in. And because environmental sustainability was there, so I had to do work in this. So right now, there are mixed feelings, and I'm feeling so happy, so overwhelmed graduating from this. And one thing I would like to congratulate all of you, to the entire GPODS team, is that you have been on time. Amazing. Every class has been so punctual, and I think this changed my habit also. And especially Ishan, Arpit, Jonathan, you guys have been experts in your areas. And this is, yeah. So also learning and listening to all my colleagues, I've taken back a lot. I wish you all the best for your next cohort, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Nivedita. Guys, kindly note, we're also taking wishes for the next cohort as we speak. Mosmi, you're up next.
I don't know where to begin. Okay, 3 months ago when I was applying, I think I was speaking to Shivangi. I'm like, I don't think they'll accept me because I come from a very corporate background. But little did I know that it's for everyone, right? This whole fellowship, anyone can apply. And if like you're good enough, of course you'll get in. And the experience speaks for itself, I guess. Everyone here can like attest to it. And I think when Mr. John Dixon was talking about, the whole hair experience, this fellowship kind of has saved my year, because I was balding initially when the pandemic started. I'm like, I'm losing my hair. But surprisingly, after the fellowship, like it is not that bad anymore. But anyway, huge props and thanks to Arpit and Ishan. They've always been open for anything and everything. Jonathan, of course, has been the fun uncle that he's so rightly claimed. And yeah, to the whole team, thank you so much. And especially to the fellows. I'm sure this is not the end. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mosmi. Moritz, you're up next.
Yeah, well, guys, I guess from the first week on, I could say, so Morris, that was the best decision you made in the last month. And yeah, now I'm sad that it's over, but somehow I'm also totally happy when I think back to all our lectures and discussions. And well, what I really took away from this journey is that we all need to think beyond our bubbles we normally live in. So because global issues need to be discussed globally. And for me, GPODS opened the opportunity to exchange with all you guys, with people from completely different countries and professional directions and backgrounds. And I have met people and discussed with them I would never have met or discussed otherwise. And I was able to immerse myself in so many other ways of thinking and motivations. And that is also what I want to tell the next cohort. You will rarely find a fellowship like this anywhere else, because above all, you will meet people who couldn't be more valuable for you personally. As we already said, it's a family, and I'm so proud of this. And so many thanks. Special thanks to Arpit and Ishan for giving me this opportunity. Thanks to the whole GPODS organizing team who made this great fellowship possible. And many thanks to all the other fellows to you guys who really opened completely new perspective for me with your incredible extensive knowledge. I'm wow. It's so amazing. And many thanks to the mentors who showed me what is really important in global politics, namely to understand that all the problems of the world really affect us all to a certain extent, and that we therefore always must work together on solutions. So, wow, it was a great experience, guys, and I'm so proud to be part of it.
Thank you so much, Moritz. Thank you for pushing us to the brink of getting emotional now. So we'll move to Marie now. Marie, if you can unmute yourself.
Well, Moritz took most of my speaking points already, so I will just echo mostly what he has said. But yeah, on my behalf as well, it's been a really wonderful journey on so many levels. It's been a very hectic autumn for me, so I haven't been able to participate so much. And on that note, for me, this journey in a way is only starting. So I'm really looking forward for the next steps and the future. But on my behalf as well, thank you so much, Arpit and Ishan and everyone else at the GPODS team and mentors and all the fellows as well. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Marie. I must also confess that while it feels really nice to be thanked by everyone, but the point is, you talking about GPODS, about you, it isn't about Arpit or me here. So I just wanted to make, even though it does feel nice, I must confess. Malika, you're up next.
Hi. So, despite how promising the website looked and how great the subjects and everything looked, I didn't know what I should expect out of GPOTS. But I think the inaugural lecture series was enough. Uh, Attended it, and I was like, okay, this is something it's promising, and I know that this is something that, however it ends, I know that it's going to be good, and I think that's exactly what happened. So thank you so much for that. I've sort of honestly, I also want to say a special thank you to John also for all the great virtual cafes and the great office hours. The point is that I've been in a sort of a different phase for the past 15 days. So I didn't realize that the end, that the convocation is so close, and it's suddenly just snuck up, and I was like, okay, now. So now it's just hitting that, okay, now like you don't have to log into Zoom for a new lecture and everything. But I'm really going to miss this, and thank you so much for this great time. I think my biggest learning essentially has been that there's so much more to learn, to relearn, and to also unlearn. And it's just the beginning. So I hope that we all continue to build this community as much as possible and hopefully make change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Malika. Himaki, would you want to go next?
I have nothing really to say, but there's so much to say. I mean, where do I even start from? I guess everyone had a very grim year, and GPODS kind of gave, I mean, maybe for others, I don't want to speak for others, but I think everyone has been able to articulate so well. I think GPODS kind of made me more focused and gave me like, okay, what I need to do next. They made sure that what exactly, like, I was always looking forward to after 5 p.m. Like, okay, this is the class time. This is the only time I'm going to be so productive, because rest of the day I used to just while away. So it kind of gave me more, to go ahead and how to go about it. I think it's been great. I think at my age, you've always been looking up towards people like mentors whom you can learn so much. And I think this kind of gave not only like great friends, but like great mentors, great learning. And I hope this is not the end. I know this is not the end. I'm going to keep troubling you all. I have all your numbers. I'm just saying. I'm going to be sliding down your DMs, going to be sending you the worst memes ever. That's just me. And to trouble you all whenever I am feeling bored. And yes, and to drink with you all virtually and hopefully in real life as well. I'll fly down wherever you guys are. So yeah, thanks guys. Thank you all.
Thank you so
Keep
much.
those memes coming in, Himaki and Arundhati.
Yeah. Charmi, you're up next.
Hi everyone. So while GPODS has been this really nice platform for me to go beyond my comfort zone and actually explore subjects that I never have, I think my biggest takeaway from GPODS is the value system that I've learned out here, especially from Ishan and Arpit. I think both of you all have been pillars of strength with the entire application process. And I cannot be more grateful to you all for that. And I also did not imagine getting close to the cohort and actually becoming friends with people who I meet online. I've never believed in that sort of concept. But after coming here, I feel warm. I do not feel awkward. I feel like I have friends across different parts of India now. And I cannot wait to meet all of you in person. Thank you for showing me what friendship looks like, what going out for your way to help other people looks like, and just being so nice and welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charmi. Back at you about being nice and being so forthcoming. So, yeah, I think we have Caroline next.
And I only get 1 minute to talk about all the amazing things. Oh man. But seriously, I echo Mushmi's point where I felt like an imposter because my background is scattered across the board: pre-med, archaeology, corporate finance. Like there was nothing, no knowledge of CPA or international relations. And I had only just started as a social entrepreneur, even though I was in sustainability for a year and a half at that point. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to know Arpit and Jonathan beforehand. And, you know, that was already like the stamp of approval, like, okay, GPODS is probably an amazing program. And I looked at it as an opportunity to do just that, to learn about all these subjects that, you know, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to grad school yet to pursue, if I was qualified. And as the program continued, I found myself gaining this confidence in myself. And now Arvid has probably written me the most beautiful recommendation letter ever for the Harvard Kennedy School. And, you know, it's true, echoing everyone's points here, like GPODS gave us so much knowledge, so many opportunities. I've never, ever thought I would be able to speak on the International Organization on Migration, ever. So that was just an incredible opportunity that GPODS provided. But the mentors, the fellows, Aishan, Arpit, you guys are family now, basically. And I really can't wait after COVID is over to meet up with everyone in person, to finally have that coffee with John Dixon in New York City, and to attend Arpit's, you know, virtual wedding for everyone now. But you know, it's just an amazing program. And unlike Aishan, I will quote a song, because in the end, I want to be standing at the beginning with you. That's from Anastasia. But seriously, this program has given us all so much. And I'm just so happy that I made that decision 3 months ago to join this cohort.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I'm just going to be sending you song names and song quotes, and you could just unmute yourself because I couldn't stop you from quoting songs.
Probably I could use some in the recommendation letters that I write now.
Asma, if you could go next, if you're here.
Yeah. So I just want to say that this the fellowship has been a very nice way to end an otherwise very difficult year, and so also the fact that you both, Arpit, Ishan, and everyone else, all the mentors have encouraged a lot of dialogue and conversation, and I haven't had the kind of opportunity since college. This makes me sound very old. No, I left college last year, but either ways, it's been very nice. So no matter what questions you ask, because I've asked a lot of very interesting questions, I'll leave it at that. But you've been very encouraging of questions, as is everybody else. And the kind of, so I've had a lot of interesting ideas that I've heard as well from the mentors. And I really appreciate the virtual cafes too. I wouldn't have talked to a lot of the fellows otherwise. And it's just been a really nice way to end a very difficult year. And yeah, I'm very grateful for the fellowship. Thank you both so much. Thank you. And thank you the team as well. Nivedita was saying this, that you're very prompt, and this is true about the messages and the questions that we ask in general as well. When the meetings rescheduled or anything else, that's very, very nice as well. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Asma. We have Ashutosh next.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, Ashutosh.
Yeah, so of course, as Jonathan began, it's a mixed bag. So there's a lot of emotions running all across. So for me personally, I graduated from law school on the 17th, and today I graduated from GPOD. So basically, there are two caps if I can wear, but I don't have none now. But yeah, it all began with the fact that I wanted the interest in the subject of diplomacy made me apply for the same. And Ishan being the proud alumni of Symbiosis Law School, that was one major reason why I did apply for it. And
Proud,
here we are.
Proud wasn't my word. Proud wasn't my
But so that's what I think, more than what I could ask for. The lectures, the workshops, as well as the mentors we had, all across for the past 3 months. So I think it's an incredible experience, and for the fellows, I think it was one of the most diverse cohort. I'm too young, not just by age, but also the fact that my knowledge and I had to I got to learn from so many of you, and as they say, we are part of the inaugural batch, so we'll always remain the first. There are many more batches, of fellows which will follow up, but then we will be the part of the first batch. So I think there's more, a lot of things which could take up, and I would like to wish you all, and the conversation have to continue, and we'll hope for the best. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. Thank you. We have Arundhati next. Arundhati, if you could go next.
Hi, everyone. Ishan, before I start, I think I'd like to say that I hate you and love you both for making us speak. I was under the impression that we are supposed to have some formal 2 minutes each thing. So I'd actually worked on a speech and took so much unnecessary stress. So thanks for that, Ishan. But I think... Huh?
That's what I was going for, Arundhati.
But I think I've said it before many times. GPODS was like one of the best things to happen in 2020, and considering the kind of year it is, I think it was a huge blessing. I've enjoyed learning and getting to know everybody. I just want to thank the entire GPODS team, the organizing team, you guys. I'm very, very grateful for all the friendships and all the mentors. And speaking of friends and mentors both, I think a special shout out needs to go to Jonathan because I think I'm grateful to have found both in him. And really very, very thank you, Ishan and Arpit, for everything, for always being there for us. And look forward to this journey. And I think just like Himaki, I'm not going to leave you guys alone. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arundhati.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm going to blush now.
We have Arif, who's next. Arif, before you go ahead, I just wanted to promise you something. It was one of the first few conversations we had after the fellowship started. I know you're a very big cricket fan. You know I'm a very big cricket fan. And I had told you that we're going to have a cricketer as one of the speakers at some point. It couldn't materialize during the cohort. But I just spoke with him a couple of days back. He's in Delhi. Whenever you're in Delhi, we'll set up a meeting and we'll go have a coffee with him. So that's a promise from my end.
Thanks for that.
Arif, anyway, that's you're next. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, wow. I mean, these 3 months, right? They went in a flash. I mean, I just wish I could relive it again. I mean, it was like a lot of learnings, right? So I have one word to summarize this whole entire experience. It's stupendous, right? I think you guys have really done a great job, Ishan, then Arpit, Jonathan, the entire team of GPODS, mentors from around the world. I mean, great orchestration of the whole program, right? It was really well conducted and a lot of learnings. And for someone like me who has been working in the corporate domain for a long time, it's the sheer joy of learning new things which attracted me to this program, because it's multidimensional and it works on the intersection of so many things which I wanted to learn in a formal manner. So thank you everyone for that. And yeah, I also would like to I would also like to express my gratitude to the entire mentors, right, for the key takeaways and for the time as well. And especially today, right, some key takeaways from today's session. For example, Jonathan spoke about friendship and fellowship. Mr. Dixon spoke about radical collaboration, and Dr. Sai spoke about the relevance of values. I think these are worth pondering, key takeaways after this convocation as well. And as like Dr. Sais is a Beatles fan, I would also like to share this personal fact that Beatles was the third music cassette, because I was in that, my childhood was transition between from music cassettes to CDs. So I remember my third cassette was Beatles, and my dad was a big fan of Beatles and he bought me that. So thanks for, reliving the Beatles memories, today. I guess, yeah, I mean, of course, this is not the end for us. The journey is not the end. We'll obviously meet face to face. And thank you, everyone. Wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a New Year in advance. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Arif. We go to Anjali next. Anjali, can you hear me? Oh, Anshli, you have one of those issues again. Hi, and welcome back. We'll just move to Aman for now. Aman, and we'll come back to you, Anshli. You'll probably have to log out and log in again, as usual. So,
Hello everyone. So it was just today that I realized that there are so many fellows whose names start with A. So anyway, thanks Ishan for not putting me on the spot again. And so about GPODS, right? GPODS, I'd have to describe it, let's call it a trampoline that helped me jump beyond and see, what lies beneath, beyond what I have imagined till date. And while I was entering GPODS, I was just this, let's say, underconfident kid who did not know what he was going to do further in life, and I couldn't go for my masters, right? So, but when GPODS entered, and I mean, right now I am this person who, I mean, quoting Ishan, never aim lower than an Ivy League +1, plus Stanford, I mean. So that's what
wow,
for me.
wow, that's a jab at Stanford.
Good one, man.
Very well played. Very well played.
So yeah, that's what GPODS has done for me, and I'm really grateful for it.
Thank you, Aman. We are richer in thought and in experiences just because we've been a part of this fellowship. So thank you. Now, we'll go back to Anshli. Anshli, have you figured it out yet? Okay, I think Shivangi had a couple.
Would you like to nominate someone to speak on your behalf, Anshli? Okay, yes, you should type it.
Okay. And then I'll say it out loud, Anshli.
And also, guys, Upasna wanted to come in and say hi. So since we are all family, I thought Upasna should meet the larger family out here.
Thank you.
So sweet.
Can we go back to Mohit? Now, Mohit faked an office phone call so that he could just speak at last. He could be the last person in the queue.
Oh,
Mohit
he hasn't spoken.
I mean, there are so many different versions of what Ishan talks about in terms of different people, which I will touch later on a separate conversation. So I just want to say that like we've all gone through a lot in 2020, and personally, I am very proud that this year is ending with GPODS Convocation, which is the cherry on the cake, and nothing that I could have anticipated back in April when this whole pandemic started. So thank you, Ishan and Arpit, for this opportunity. And what's most powerful about GPODS for me was that it showed me the power of perspectives. It showed me the power of the ideas and how an idea can stem from a conversation, and how it can lead to a successful fellowship like GPODS has currently become. So thank you so much for bringing to us the seed of your idea and what you've been able to create, and the value that this fellowship has added to at least my life, and I can say for that. And gratitude to everyone for sharing their perspectives, ideas, thoughts, comment. I have personally learned a lot, and I wish everyone all the best.
Thank you so much, Mohit. I'm sure the conversations are going to continue. We haven't got Anshli's note yet. Anshli, it was supposed to be a 2-minute talk, not an essay. So you could just say like a couple of words and be done with it. We haven't heard from Sneha. I believe Sneha is also on a phone call.
Yes. No,
Hi.
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to say that it has been an incredible experience with all of you. And thank you for showing me what the policy landscape actually looks like. I think before I entered the program, it was more about a vague idea that I had and, how it's going to look like and just going to a grad school. But now I understand it better. And also with all the seminars and conferences that I've attended, I feel I've really enjoyed the online presence and, the parts where I've been speaker and, contributed to the decisions and so spoken at various events. So that's really been a great experience in terms of adding to my own knowledge and sharing perspectives with others. And all in all, I feel that yes, this is definitely one of the best decisions that I took for the entire year, and looking forward to an amazing year ahead and connecting with a lot more of you in the near future. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, Sneha. And I think with that, we're done with the fellows speak section. That's literally.
Am I audible?
Oh yes, Anjali, welcome back.
Oh, thank God. I thought it'd be nerve-wracking to go first, but as I realized, it wasn't as much as listening to everyone else, because now I have added pressure to be original with what I want to say. But I just wanted to say that I love platforms that kind of remind you.
Try giving a vote of thanks after 2.5 hours of people speaking.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I think I love platforms that kind of remind you how huge the world is, but also kind of get you back to how small it can be if everyone acts together and kind of puts their head and works together. So I now know where to come whenever I want to simmer in that kind of energy. So thanks a lot to this fellowship and to Arpit and Ishan, who are family. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anjali. I mean, you could not have, we could not have ended with the fellows speak section on a better note. Arpit, did you want to say something?
I just want to say that whoever is thanking me, whatever has gone right, it's all because of Upasna. Whatever has gone wrong, that's probably because of my internet. So yeah.
So I just want to say hi to all of you.
Apparently, that's how it has to go from now.
Yeah, meaning you're learning the ropes pretty quickly.
So there must be a lag in the internet. So
I have good advisors like John Dixon who keep telling me how to go about things.
So
good progress.
Yeah.
I got the opportunity to meet Srija today, and I'm looking forward to meet all of you whenever it is possible. So nice meeting all of you. I think I'm meeting all of them for the first time. And as Ishanta and Arpit, they have already told you that this is seriously not an end. And it's a big family, one family, and we will always stay in touch with each other. So nice meeting you.
And guys, whenever you're traveling to Delhi, you have a home right here. So just feel free to let us know and stay with us.
Yeah, please.
And till Arpit has his Wi-Fi issues sorted, you have this home as well in Delhi. So that being said, guys, it is that time of the 3 months where we bid adieu. As I said, before I start with the vote of thanks, this conversation will keep on continuing. We will initiate a conversation whenever we can, but please do not forget what is the most important part of this fellowship, which is coming forward, just saying hi if it's possible, and just keeping in touch. That's the biggest takeaway that all of you could have. Now, like Arundhati, I had prepared a speech as well for the vote of thanks. And like Arundhati, I'm not going to adhere to it. But I just wanted to talk about how, when I was thinking about vote of thanks right now, I was thinking how it's kind of like a symbol of, it's an expression of gratitude for a transaction that has happened. A human transaction, financial transaction, political transaction, whatever. And so it signifies the end of a transaction and signifies gratitude. And I'd let the end of the transaction be, because I am sure that this is just the beginning. And I shall quote Semisonic's song called Closing Time, which has this line called "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." And it is, as it is, Arpit cannot do anything about it. This is the last speech. And that being said, I hope the conversations continue. I will keep the gratitude part of the vote of thanks, because I'm extremely grateful to each of you. We have always mentioned how mentorship is one of the biggest selling points of the GPODS fellowship. But when Arpit and I were speaking last night, we were just talking about how each of you have been sort of like mentors to us, and how much we've taken from you and your thought and your knowledge base into not just uh, the academic stuff that we roll out and that we will be rolling out for the next cohort, but just the ideas and the feedback and the conversations, having places to crash in different cities. Very slyly, I put it in there. And it would be inapt if I end it right here. I must also thank our extremely, to put it in Henrique's words, virtuous team, the GPODS team that has helped us through everything. I think a lot of the credit why the video is so on point, the scheduling is so on point, the classrooms are so on point, everything is like proper. So, thank you so much. Snigdha, since you have unmuted yourself, thank you for being a part of the team. Thank you, Wasi, for being there with everything. Thank you, George. Uh, I mean, the biggest step forward towards GPODS was the website, and as you all know, it was all George's creation. So thank you, George. Thank you, Aditi. Again, I know that you have the most mind numbing job of them all, and you've done it so well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rishika. Again, extremely supportive. Thank you so much, Nandini, who's been a part of our administration and team earlier. I don't know if she's here, but thank you so much, Nandini, for being part of the team. Thank you, Tanisha, Ashna, and Aniket, who just joined us. You've been extremely helpful, and I hope the help continues. We'll be relying on you over the next couple of months. Thank you to each of our mentors. I mean, starting with Justice Luke Laverson, when we came up with the concept, we reached out to him, and he was extremely supportive. And ever since then, there's been no turning back to lend support to barely 30-year-olds and barely bit his Arpit to otherwise would have been 30-year-olds. Is a great show of faith which each of our mentors have reposed in us, and I hope that we're able to do justice, and I hope we're able to keep the conversation forward, take the conversation forward. Thank you thank you to John Dixon. As I said, it is you being here is emblematic of what GPODS has achieved, coming one full circle. So thank you so much. I know that we bounced a lot of ideas of you. You've always been very helpful, kind with your time. So thank you. Thank you, Henrique. I have said this before. I think you're the most engaging speaker I've ever heard. And you just raise the bar every time I hear you. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for supporting every idea that we throw at you. It's just been a very beautiful experience every time we speak with you. Thank you, John. Could not thank you enough, man. Thank you for being there since the time the seeds of this fellowship were sown. Thank you so much for taking out the time. I know it's 10 a.m. In New York when we're having the virtual cafe in India, and you're always there, sometimes inappropriately turned up, but thank you always for taking out the time. Thank you for taking out time for us and always keeping us as a priority. I know that you know that your support means a lot to us, and
John's got the goofs.
I got the goods.
Yeah, you got the goods. Thank you finally to Arpit. Again, I spoke about this in the Constitution Club seminar that we had today. I haven't shared it with any of you, but since Shrija was there and she'll probably leak the knowledge anyway, so I might as well share it. About a year and a half back, I had just come back from court, and I was working with my files, and Arpit comes home, and Arpit just sits next to me. He takes out a notebook and he just starts noting things down. And I ask him, first I avoid him because I think he wanted to start a conversation and I was working. But obviously I could not avoid him after a certain point. So I asked him that, what is it that you're working on? What is it that requires such concentration? And he told me that, he has this idea for fellowship and we should work towards it. And I was like, this is a brilliant idea. Let's get on to it. Let's start this tomorrow and we can pull this off. And then the next day I go to court, Arpit goes back to work. And then we did not speak of this until COVID strikes. And we had time on our hands. And we again agitated the idea. Arpit had named it GPOD because sustainability apparently isn't important enough. And then I came in and the rest of is history. And within 3 months, we had the system going, we had the applications going, everything seemed to be going good. But somewhere at the back of my minds, we were very aware that the whole point of this fellowship is what I'm going to talk to you about over the next 2 minutes. So when the applications rolled out and when we came back and when we went to the drawing board and thought, what is GPODS as a product? We came up with a lot of ideas. So GPODS is a culmination of policy, diplomacy, sustainability. GPODS is mentorship, GPODS is courses, GPODS is workshops, GPODS is office hours, GPODS is me, GPODS is Arpit, GPODS is the whole team. And all of them are extremely good, reasonable options to define GPODS. GPODS is all of that. But today, as I have to give this vote of thanks, being the oldest in the crowd, by the way, I have to say that you guys each of you have helped me find that one answer that we've been looking for the past 6 months, which is what is GPODS. And I've realized that GPODS eventually is each of you. And each of you is going to be GPODS for the rest of life and for the rest of our lives. So let's hope that we carry the conversation forward. Let's hope that we build a community of people who are dedicated towards changing the world. Let's hope that we do turn into leaders who can make a difference going forward. And let's hope that everything that you've got, friendships, fellowship, as Henrique said, knowledge, criticism, jokes, dry humor from me mostly, and just the idea and a sense of being that wherever you're in life, you have a group of people who are always going to be there for you and always going to be one text away or one call away wherever you are in the world. And as we keep on building this community, I just want to thank you for being the foundation of the years to come and being the group everyone will look forward to and look up to becoming in the years to come. So with that, congratulations again. Congratulations on becoming GPODS graduates. And thank you so much from the absolute bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Again, thanks, Ishan. Thanks, Henrique, John, Jonathan, and each of the fellows. We love you all. And we are looking forward to so many more virtual cafes and mostly drunk ones this time. So thank you. Cheers. And Ishan, I'm coming to your place in half an hour to start getting drunk.
Okay. Still being recorded.
Yeah. That's great.
Cheers, Ishan.
Okay, cut the recording, guys, please.
Yeah, please cut the recording now.